Hi everyone. Today we're going to meet someone who's been working a lot on my books and have some fun looking at her space and how she records stuff. Hi, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes, hello. I am Alisa Beach's mother, and I have the honor and privilege of doing the voiceovers for all of her books to be made into Audible. And someday soon, you will have these to purchase. Here's my brand new renovated studio. Keith Beach, her dad, took out this built-in desk and put on my high-low legs, which you all know how they work, but it is just totally awesome, right?
Ooh.
So then you can just set it back to the, there it goes.
So fancy.
To the height that you need, and with my daughter Ashley's help, she helped me organize my desk, made it a little bit cleaner to use, easier to get to stuff, because as you can see, I am extremely limited. And we had to modify curtains that she helped me with for the sound absorption. When you're editing a book for ACX, there are quite a few parameters and rules that you have to follow, and you do have to know what you're doing with this software. I'm still learning. So I think Ashley said that she would like to listen to a spot. So I have one ready for you right now. You will hear this clicker tells you when I made a mistake, which those happen a lot when I'm
Tells you when you've been a bad dog.
Bad dog. And she tells me she didn't write it that way. To be determined. I don't know.
And the other squires brush down the horses and make sure they are well fed. Have them ready to ride again in a few hours. Yes, sire. Terence nodded as he began to squeeze the excess water out of his tunic. Terence nodded as he began to squeeze the excess water out of his tunic. And Terence? Yes, sire. Ready 5 additional horses. Ready 5 additional horses. 5, sire? You need that many for supplies? No. We will need a few more riders to join us. No.
Awesome.
There you have it. You did hear those clicks. Those were valid, true, honest mistakes. Very easy to do as you're reading. And this is what your voice looks like in sound waves. It's little squiggly lines, and you can tell, say here on the screen, I'm talking a little bit louder. There must have been a more dramatic point to that sentence or something bigger that I had to say. And you do have to read the script as you're recording, and so it works out handy to have the script on one side and my software on the other side.
So explain the clicker. Is that just so you know where to go back if you made a mistake?
Yes.
Or make it easier for editing?
Both. Because now, can you zoom in right there where my cursor is? You see the clicks?
Mm-hmm.
Those are my click marks. I made a mistake right before that happened. This is to tell me I need to go back to that spot later when I'm editing, and I can easily highlight what was wrong. I can do the cuts, and if I didn't like that sound, I can actually undo that cut and put it right back in. I can also find a spot where I needed to add. If I forgot the word the or changed it to of, that never happens, by the way.
I'm sure.
Then I can have these clicker marks to visually as well as sound. I can see that on my recording software, and that keys me right into where I need to go. I don't have to listen to the entire track when I'm editing. Editing will take about 3 to 5 times longer than it does to record. So you want to try not to have those little mistakes, because you do spend a lot of time at the desk as you are editing, and as my little clicker flags me as to where I had a lot of mistakes. And not sure, would you like me to record something?
Okay.
I'm on my way, my lady. Theron gave a slight bow to the young girl, causing her to blush and giggle amidst catching her breath. Terence, you and the other squires brush down the horses and make sure they are well fed. Have them ready to ride again in a few hours. Yes, sire. Terrence nodded as he began to squeeze the excess water out of his tunic. And Terrence, yes, sire. Ready 5 additional horses. 5, sire? You need that many for supplies? No, we will need a few more riders to join us. Riders? Who will be joining you? Terrence asked, his eyes scrunched. There we go. I had a pause. That was a mistake. Terrence asked, his eyes usually once you make the same, you'll make it again. Terrence asked, his eyes scrunched in confusion. Scrunched in confusion. A few young, well-trained men riding out into the great unknown, protecting the kingdom. Unless you would rather stay here and watch after the younger lads. Theron smiled as he turned toward the palace, allowing the reality of his words to sink in. Terrence let out a breath, and a smile spread across his face. Yes, sire. No, sire. I will have the horses ready, and I will inform the other squires to ready themselves, sire.
So a little bit about the process. I've already written, obviously, quite a few books. I have 5 of them out now, and I'm working on the 6th one.
She's way ahead of me.
But she's been great about going through it. She's about 5 or 6 chapters into the first book on recordings, and they've all passed the levels that they need to for Amazon's Audible, and that's the kind of parent company that all audiobooks are based off of for their levels and all that. So she's doing a great job doing that, but she's been going through and recording a chapter. Sometimes she'll go through and record character voices or say them to me and see if that's the voice I want for the character. And she's amazing because she's not just reading them, but she's adding a lot of character to the voices, and it's made me cry a few times hearing them because they're so amazing. But yeah, just a little bit about that. And when she's done recording, I come down and listen to it and see if there were any other mistakes that she might have not have caught and words she missed or different things, or maybe I just didn't like something of how she said something. So it's a back and forth, and then she goes back and re-records and puts it in and stuff. So it's a process, but
it sure is a process. And passing the ACX test is like taking an exam at school. You want to see the word pass.
Mm-hmm.
And when you don't, you get to go back and do all of the little things that you have to do to change the levels, the sounds, and everything else. It's very interesting.
And that could even just be room noise is too loud or not loud enough. Breaths are too loud or not in there enough. And
exactly. It can also be street noise, cars, airplanes, people working on their things with loud machinery or music.
yes.
all of that the software picks up, and it will come in the background. So
or on really windy days here in Colorado, we hear all the wind on the window well covers on the window. That back little panel there is where the window is down here in this office. So
and the wind is basically not worth to record. So
No.
you have a lot of elements against you as to when is a good time to record and when is a good time to walk away from it. So
it also depends on the time of day too, you said.
Yes, it does.
Sometimes people do better recording in the mornings, and sometimes people do better in the evenings, or sometimes people do better in the afternoons.
Yes. If you know your body and you know your voice, I am not a morning person. My voice doesn't kick in till after lunch. Then I know I have a cleaner voice, less raspier, and I'm well more mentally alert. Although you can't tell that with all the clicks in my recording. So it is a very difficult process. And just to make sure she knows things passed, I send a picture to her every time, because it's seriously like a college test. You either pass or you fail.
Yep, I'm always happy to see the pass ones.
Yes, and there's 3 elements in passing, very technical details, but you just want to see the word pass, and you've got it. And then she's ready to load that right up to the ACX website that will then form her book into an Audible listening book, and eventually it will be on all her websites to make sure that you can purchase them to listen to them at home.
Awesome. Thank you. And I know you've told me this before, but why don't you tell our followers kind of your process for recording? Do you read through the chapter a few times first? Do you read through it out loud or just in your head?
Yeah, good question. Voice acting is just like acting on stage or in the theater or in the movies, you do have to read your script many times over. Many times I will start out just in my head and I will imagine some of the voices, like Theron has a deeper voice. I know that because the author has told me that. So I will hear it in my head as a deeper voice, or as Terrence, who is probably 14 or 15 years old, has to have that 14 or 15-year-old boy voice. So it's a little bit higher pitched. And each one tries to have a different character. And Queen Anwen, coming up in the rest of this chapter, will have that very cold, evil kind of voice. And you do have to read your script many, many times. Even though you still make mistakes, you tend to read ahead, and then your mind and your mouth do not do the same things at the same time. But once I've read it maybe a half a dozen times, then in my head, then I will start actually putting it to voice, and I will actually say it out loud. Sometimes what you hear in your head is not exactly what comes out in the mouth, but your head and your mouth kind of struggle with that. Sometimes you think too high or too low, or whatever the case may be. So it is a trick. And like she said, she will take this after I'm done recording all of it. She will listen to the voices. She will watch every word very carefully. Hopefully I've done my job, so she's not doing that very long. But she still finds something. And so then I will go back and I will recorrect it. I will re-record it if I need to, whatever the case may be. If I can splice it and slice it, that's the better option, but sometimes that can get very nitpicky, because as you can see, all of these things are very tight and close together. The sound waves, you can make them as wide as you need to so that you can put that cursor wherever you need to. And you learn as you go. This right here is a breath, and that breath needs to be silenced or taken out, because you do have to have them in there. Readers like to hear them because they might get too tense in the situation, but you don't need to have the sound in every single one, unless the situation is calling for a big dramatic scene and you're out of breath, because that's the scene that actually adds to it. So you can tell as you go along what looks like what, and I know this is going to be a breath every single time I see this on the page. But yes, you do have to do your homework. This is not just sit down and just try to stumble through it, although it sounds like it sometimes. So that is a very good question. There is a lot to editing, a lot of study, a lot of preparation, a lot of, and then you heard a couple mistakes that I did not do the clicker with. Those will come out later in the editing process. So
awesome. Is there anything else you would like to share with everyone?
I am just thoroughly blessed and honored that I can do my daughter's books, and that she asked me and believes in me enough I love to read with character voices, even to little kids. And I'm just honored that she asked me to do this.
And I am very honored to have my mom read my books. What other author gets to have that happen? So it was great talking to y'all. And if you have any questions or ever want to see any more videos like this, just let me know. Have a great day.
Bye.